us. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hello, everybody. You give me a second. I will be right back. All right. I'm going to be gone for just a little bit. I'll be back by the 3-minute mark. All right. I'm back. Sometimes, when I have high anxiety days like today, my stomach starts to get upset, and sometimes it'll take over. So, all right. Probably at the 3-minute mark. Almost. There it is. All right. Well, I did enough unpacking that I found my Trudging Together shirt. Woo, progress. Woo, progress. Good night. Good to see you, Patricia. All right. I wasn't feeling that good. Wasn't feeling very well there for a second. So I really wish that wouldn't have happened when I went live, but it is what it is. So welcome to Daily Trudge. My name is Dion. I'm going to be your host today. If you're here, please say hello. Hello. No one said hello. So, there's something else on my mind beforehand. That's okay. So I'm going to be reading out of The Language of the Heart. And Language of the Heart is grapevine writings from Bill W. And today I'm going to be reading one. It's kind of short. And what it is it's a letter to the mother of an alcoholic. And I haven't read through this. I haven't read it for a while. And I don't quite remember how it goes. I don't know if we're going to hear the original letter or not. I don't think that we do. Probably because of something like anonymity, right? So let's get started. Letter to the mother of an alcoholic, December 1944. Dear mother of Jay, I cannot tell you how poignantly I am stirred by the letter you wrote the grapevine about your alcoholic son. I really wish we could have read that letter first. Just 10 years ago, my own mother, after years of frantic bewilderment, lost hope. Long a chronic problem drinker, I had come to the jumping off place. A very good doctor pronounced the grim sentence: obsessive drinker, deteriorating, rapidly hopeless. The doctor used to talk about my case somewhat like this. Yes, Bill. Bill has. Yes, Bill has underlying personality defects, great emotional sensitivity, childishness, and inferiority. This very real feeling of inferiority is magnified by his childish sensitivity and his state of affair, which generates in him that instainable, abnormal craving for self approval and success in the eyes of the world. Still a child, he cries for the moon, and the moon, it seems, won't have him. And I kind of feel like they're talking about me. Does it feel like you when you were a kid? It's feeling that way to me. I didn't feel it. I didn't belong. My perceptions were wrong. Um, I was very, very sensitive. I was a very sensitive child. I'm still pretty sensitive. And if somebody laughs at my emotions, I will automatically get mad. I'm working on that though. Because sometimes people aren't laughing at your emotions, they're laughing because they feel those emotions also, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. And remember things like that. My wife is like that, so that's how I know. So he cries for the moon, and the moon, it seems, won't have him, so he can't find any kind of release. Right? Discovering alcohol, he found much more in it than do normal folks. To him, alcohol is no mere relaxation. It means release from inner conflict. It seems to set his troubled spirit free. I remember the first time I got good and drunk. Man, it was like a sudden change. It was. Suddenly, Dion's personality was different. I was different. Okay? And the next day, I wouldn't have alcohol in me, and I'd revert right back to the Dion I didn't like. Or actually, the Dion other people didn't like. So I thought to myself, well, I must conform. If I'm ever going to be a part of anything in this life, I've got to conform. Right? And conformity didn't work for me either. And it didn't work for me because I was emotional sensitive. I had an inferiority complex. Right? So when I found alcohol and it changed that for me, it relieved me of all that pain and suffering. I thought I had found heaven in a bottle. It was a big deal for me. It was a big deal because I'm telling you, I didn't have any friends growing up. Nobody wanted to hang out with me. And a lot of people my age, I just didn't want to hang out with. They didn't see things the way that I did. It wasn't until I met another person like me in towards the end of junior high that I would end up getting a friend. Now, once I started drinking, I had all sorts of friends. Dion's cool. He's a badass, man. You get it, Dion. You know, and I liked that. Right. So I was a little boy that everybody picked on. Summer goes by, and suddenly you don't fuck with Dion. Ooh, we shouldn't have been fucking with him. And I would hear that too. People would tell me, Dion, people fear you. In the beginning, when I had that, it felt good because I wanted vengeance. I wanted vengeance. What, did you think I'd forgotten about what you'd done, what you said to me? And I started to. I would start fucking with other people's lives pretty badly. Right? So my point on that is I found that alleviation, or I found that, that alleviation And I would search for that high again for the rest of my life, never ever to find it. Right? It won't happen again. It can't. It's impossible. You cannot experience something new twice. Now, I'm not saying that it was nothing but bad times from there. I had plenty of good times while I was drinking. All right. Discovering alcohol, he found more in it than normal folks. To him, alcohol was no relaxing. Okay. The doctor would then go on. Seen this way, we normal people can picture how such a compulsive habit can become a real obsession, as indeed it has in Bill's case. Once he arrives at the obsession point, alcohol overshadows all else. Hence, he now appears utterly selfish and immoral. He will lie, cheat, steal, or what have you to serve his drinking ends. Of course, those about him are shocked and dismayed because they think his actions are willful. But that's far from being so. The real picture of Bill is that of a bankrupt idealist, one who has gone broke on vain, childish dreams of perfection and power. Victimized by his obsession, he is a little boy crying alone in a strange room, waiting agonized for mother or God to come and light the candle. So I like this part. I like the real picture of Bill is that he is a bankrupt idealist, one who has gone broke on vain, childish dreams or perfection and power. We're not talking about the bankrupt in a financial sense here. Okay? We are talking about our spiritual. That's what we're talking about. We were spiritually bankrupt. I'm trying to switch everything to I statements when I do this. So I had, what I had was a spiritual malady that needed to be worked on. I must confess, Mother of Jay, that I may have put some of these words into the doctor's mouth, but that's the alcoholic life as I have lived it. Did I, an alcoholic, have a defective character? Of course I did. Was I an alcoholic, also a sick man? Yes, very. Yeah, broken. Thank you. Broken. Ouch. But we were broken. I'm broke no more. I'm not broken no more. Yeah, I think that would have been a much better word for it. To what extent was I personally responsible for my drinking? I don't know. Yet I'm not one to take complete refuge in the idea that I was a sick man only. That's correct. Just because you're a sick man or just because you're a sick person doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you hopeless. It doesn't make you these things. It's viewed that way. And when you're raised and you're told, oh, stay away from people with mental illnesses, and I mean, I know my parents didn't mean to be, but they were really biased, right? And that's because of what they grew up in. I'm a Gen Xer, the generation that supposedly has no feelings. I've been watching some of those TikToks and I like how Gen Xers we act tough, but I'm telling you, we're all bark. I know. I grew up with them. Those are the same people that I said feared me. So don't tell me. I was living there. Okay. Was it hard growing up in that era? Sure it was. Your parents were not around. Okay. They had to work 2 jobs in order to even frickin' make it. Okay. Society had changed a lot in the 70s. So I certainly had some degree of free will. That free will I used badly to the great misery of my mother and countless others. I am deeply ashamed. As one who knows me a little, you may have heard how 10 years ago a friend, himself a liberated alcoholic, came to me bearing the light which finally let me out of the toils. There will come a day like that for you and yours, I am so confident. As ever, Bill W. I think that's pretty neat. I don't know if that's how I would have wrote the letter, but without having seen the other letter, we're kind of left up in the air with that. So, and I think I've looked for that letter before and I couldn't find it, so don't bother. It's our morbid curiosity, right? Because we get down with other people's problems, OPP. So, in order for us to get started in this program, we're going to need depth and weight, and that's where we come in. Right? I'm finding it more and more and more and more. Depth and weight. Meet people where they're at. Pray. Go to meetings. These are all things that I do in my daily activities so that I can participate in life. So, all right. Thank you for being here. Patricia, thank you. And hi to all the rewatchers. I met a couple more rewatchers today. Talking to somebody, and they're like, and you know what? The swearing thing. Okay, I'm gonna do that just real quick. I was talking to him about, and he said, hey, yeah, you were getting on yourself about your swearing in your video the other day, and I'd like to help you out with that. I'm like, fantastic, yeah, I'd love some help, because I told him every time it seems like the more I focus on not doing it, the more I do it. And he's like, yeah, that's the problem. Just like you were powerless over alcohol, you are also powerless over your character defects, Dion. So give them to God like you're supposed to. He said it much nicer than this. Like you're supposed to, and let it go. And if you make a mistake, move on. Simple. What was I doing? I was fighting. And every time we fight, we lose. Okay? So that's why it wasn't working. I didn't bring it into God's will. Okay? Doesn't matter how long you've been in this program. You got to be reminded. You got to be reminded. So that's what I got. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I love you. Peace out. And